Internets, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1. Going to be covering each and every episode of the show individually. So, if you're new to this page, please hit that subscription bell. I want to dive into comic stuff with you. That is what this page is all about. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and I give my top 9 every single week, as well as the biggest movie and TV reviews, but from a comic book lover's lens. I also have a show over on HBO and HBO's YouTube called DC Studio Showcase, where I break down comics and such, and we'll be talking about this show very often. So, let's talk about Peacemaker right here on my own channel. Also, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the first episode, and join me on this journey. Leave likes, press buttons. Let's talk about it. Peacemaker is doing a lot. It is the first show after Superman. It is also the first show growing out the DCU in a post-first movie giant Superman world. We had Creature Commandos first, and that kind of set a certain tonality, and it gave us little teases, but that had to follow the events of the Suicide Squad, and it gave us our key player in this first journey, Rick Flag. Now, this is all really interesting because obviously Peacemaker killed his son, so we've got Rick Flag in Creature Commandos, we've got Rick Flag in Superman now in this show, and it's this great unifying force of a fantastic actor in Frank Grillo, but carrying through different multiversal ideas. Now, I really thought the use of the helmet and his dad's technology was going to be a key factor in the multiverse, but I didn't know it would go this direction. This first episode brought us multiversal stuff in a very different way than what Marvel's done, in a very different way than, Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's tons of multiversal movies, but what I thought was interesting was they used the previously on to kind of sprinkle in alternate versions of the characters we saw in Peacemaker Season 1. And James Gunn has talked about there being basically the continuity of the story itself. How people discuss something, how people remember it, how people feel like it happened is canon, and that's the closest to our reality, I would argue. If a bunch of people are at a party and one person sees this thing happen, one person sees this thing happen, it is going to feel true to each of them how it goes. So I think it's really interesting to have canon be subject to that character's experience and that storyline. I don't know if that's what this is going to be. I can't tell yet. We're one episode in, but in the previously on, we had a Guy Gardner line. And we had a line that had been in Season 1 now about Guy Gardner. Isabella Merced is in the previously on. She wasn't even cast yet those years ago. So really interesting choice here, multiversally, to sprinkle that in, because that's how I think of canon. Like, if I have an experience with a movie, let's say, and someone else has an experience with the movie, like watching it, when I describe the movie, that's going to be different than someone else. If I'm having a real life experience and someone else, maybe they were sick to their stomach after a roller coaster ride and their day at the theme park wasn't as good, they might have a different experience of something, even misremembering things. So I'm really curious if that suspension of disbelief meets plausible deniability, meets memory, and all these things with canon. Because comics, man, canon changes constantly. When Superman started, Superman didn't even have kryptonite. Like, you add things to canon, you subtract things that happen, people are like, meh. In the comics, Norman Osborn had a kid with Gwen Stacy. That's a storyline that happened. That is not canon. Those things change. So I'm really curious what they end up doing, because you also have the multiversal elements here. You've got basically the doorway that allows for all of these, helmets and costumes and things that was canonically, dealing with something that could allow for a multiverse is introduced in Season 1, and now it's dove into in Season 2. We've got that alien element. We've got, obviously, a secondary Peacemaker with how this episode ends, and I think this is a really curious way to start a universe, right? Like, this is really exciting. Instead of growing to this point, the DCU has the ability to pick up where Marvel is with with American societal and every nation that watches this movie. Our societal expectation of multiversal stories has reached a point where we grasp it, we understand it, we all see it as pop culture, so they don't have to set it up as deeply. They can just kind of run with it. They can run where Marvel's jogging with certain things. They can also kind of start a universe multiversally. So thought all that was interesting. Gonna see how that goes in episode 2, 3, and beyond. Let's talk about beats of the actual episode itself. Great to see John Cena back. Love the opening of this with the, the Justice Gang. Loved the dynamic between Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl. Again, getting to see more Maxwell Lord. Delightful. I love this universe setting up characters and settings so fleshed out, so already built in. We just casually mentioned Ultra Humanite and Gotham and Bloodhaven. I always thought it was Bloodhaven. It's one of those moments where my whole life when I read Bloodhaven, it was Bloodhaven. Now, Bloodhaven. I'm adjusting. But we're getting all of this DC setting lore that's world building in a literal sense, but also in the sense of a story. We get to grow this out. I love getting to see his brother and in the discussion of the what if of a multiverse. Great use of multiverse, of his dad loving him. Instead of him killing his dad loves him because he never killed his brother, and they got to be the trio. And that is such a different loving dynamic. He's still a hero, but it's different. He's with Harcourt. That's different. All of this is so cool in a multiversal way. All of this allows for the new DC universe to really thrive in a different way. But also, in addition to settings like Bloodhaven and characters and things, we also get Argus sprinkled in very commonly. We get a Belle Reve mention. We get all these things that are deeply comic-y. When you read a comic, there's 100 references, like a book. There's so much world building. I love that Argus is just sprinkled in like it's the CIA. I love that we've got, Waller still pulling strings. Even though she's in trouble, she is causing harm to the people that wronged her in her mind. So I love that that is a factor. It allows for a lot of stakes. It allows for what would happen after Peacemaker. They saved the world and he's still not respected. They saved the world and, a number of the team still can't get a job. Economos is working directly under a dude that hates him because he feels like he's partially responsible for the death of his son. We got all of this tying into things from the comics like Belle Reve. Argus is a place where basically a government organization to watch over metahumans. That's going to be a key factor in a world that's had metahumans for 300 years. But we've also got the multidimensional element. How is that going to come into play? How are these characters between these worlds? How does the ending come into play with Chris killing a version of himself, a very comic-y version of himself? I really enjoyed that the one that he killed is like a super comic accurate, like jetpack, very good at his helmet, like all those dynamics. So this has already started in a very big comic-y way. It also had everything from multiversal stuff to an orgy. Like there was, the tiniest I've ever seen. Crazy stuff to give it that R-rated flavor, to give it the comedy that is Peacemaker, to make this feel like an escalation from the first season. I'm very excited to see John Cena back. I think he is one of the better actors that has come out of wrestling ever. I think he has had so much success in comedy, and now with Peacemaker and some of the other things he's been doing, we're seeing his dramatic side, and he is an incredible dramatic actor, and I think he's only going to have grown from season one. We're really going to be talking about how good John Cena is as an actor in this next season. Also, very impressed with Harcourt. I love the trauma, the toxic masculinity, her journey of like going to that bar basically to get her butt kicked and to start a fight, to cause violence, to get violence on, like, off her mind, but she wanted this very masochistically, and I think that's really interesting of processing trauma. She can't get a job. She's just literally lashing out, and that was a fantastic scene. I really dug that. I'm curious where Waller's daughter goes and that relationship. I'm very curious about Economos and him clearly still protecting Peacemaker, reluctantly, him saying he doesn't want to, but clearly is. It started a lot. We got a lot going. So not a big bad introduction yet. Multiversally, we've got definitely some dynamics. We've got, Peacemaker killing Peacemaker. We've got a lot of stakes starting out. We've got, our T-1000 back with Patrick, I forget his name off the top of my head. But yeah, a lot of greatness. I really enjoyed this first episode, shaping up to be quite the season, and it's really fun to have these characters back. And of course, where would we be without a new opening credits song and dance, which is so dynamic and so full. A bunch of new characters we're meeting for the first time sprinkled in there. We saw Vigilante briefly. A lot of talk of owls, and clearly the stress of Economos having to talk to, Vigilante every single day. Very curious how this escalates and keeps going, and it's good to see these characters back. Did you have as much fun as I did going back to this little very dysfunctional family? Is it fun to see this Peacemaker show get to grow and bring in the new DCU characters as it is so far? Are you enjoying the dynamic of Argus and Frank Grillo and that through line that's starting to form? What do you guys think? I would love to know in the comments below. Are you enjoying the tone, the comiciness, the references? Are you enjoying this way of world building? Are you enjoying Peacemaker Season 2? Please leave a comment below. Let me know. If you're not subscribed already, please do that. Press like. Guys, I need sleep. But yes, buttons, press like, leave, comment, subscribe to page. I will see you for episode 2 and lots more reviews, lots of stuff coming to this page. I appreciate y'all. Bye.